Hello, today we're going to be creating a phishing workflow on Shuffler. So first we're going to navigate to the new workflow button, and we're going to give our workflow name, so we'll do phishing demo workflow, and then we're just going to leave all these fields empty, all of them are optional. We're just going to click done. So yeah, now we got our empty workflow, we're just going to delete this. And so to start off, normally you could use the Outlook app, the one right here, or there's many other options you could use. For right now, we plan to use Outlook, but we haven't set up the credentials yet for our organization, so we're just going to use the testing app to mock a response from Outlook when we're getting an email. So we're just going to get the testing app, and then if you want to follow along, we also have this testing app request body or response body we're going to add available, so you can copy it. But we're just going to name this Outlook. And then in the body, this can be found in the document. I'm just going to paste it in. So we're pasting that in, and then we're just going to click test execution. I like executing after adding or changing any apps just to make sure nothing's broken and everything's working as intended. So yeah, here you can see everything about our mocked response body. So we have all this information. So this is our starting node. So now we're going to add our checks for different parts of the email. So we plan to use VirusTotal to check URLs, domains, IP addresses, and then we're going to use Gemini to check the body and header contents just to see if there's any indicators of a phishing attack. And then we're also going to use Yara to analyze any attachments in the email. So we're going to start with analyzing the sender information. So we'll analyze the sender's domain and the sender's IP address. So we're going to get the VirusTotal app right here and drag it in. And we're going to connect that to the starting node. And this will be analyze domain. And then we've already authenticated our VirusTotal. If you need to, you can go to this link here and get your VirusTotal API key, and you just need to paste it in, and you're all set. So now we're just going to go to Find Actions, and we're going to go to Get Domain Report. And then here we're just going to go out and use the autocomplete to go Outlook, and then we're going to do Receive Domain. Then this will get us the received domain from the Outlook mock response. And now this should all be set, and we can click Test Execution and make sure it's all working. So first we'll get our Outlook starter node response, and then next we'll get our VirusTotal response from Analyze Domain for the sender's domain, which in our case, our sender's domain will be example.com, and then here we go, we have a response, example.com, and all the information. Okay, so next, before we actually work with this data, we're going to set up all the different apps we need to get the data we're going to use. So next we're going to add another VirusTotal app. And then we're also going to connect this one to the starting node. And then this one will be to analyze the sender's IP. Yeah, so analyze IP. And then we're going to go to Find Actions, and we're going to get IP address report. And then for the value, again, we're going to use the Shuffler autocomplete. We're going to go Outlook, then Received IP. And there we go. So now just to make this simpler for testing, and since the free version of the VirusTotal has rate limiting, we're just going to delete this branch, and as we add apps to the starting node, we're just going to test them one at a time before we test them all together at the end. So now we're just going to run another test execution. It should run the mock Outlook, and then we're going to get our Analyze IP response from VirusTotal. There we go, 200, so that's all set. So now we're going to delete this branch again, and we're going to add our third app, which is also going to be VirusTotal. This will be to analyze any URLs that are in the email body. So we're going to add this in and do analyze by domains, get a domain report, and then for value, we're gonna autocomplete. Oh, sorry, we gotta add our branch here, and now we can use the autocomplete. Outlook, and then we're gonna go body, and then this domain list here. And then, not sure why I added these, but we can just remove these brackets here. Domain, and then we'll just add the hash there to use all the domains. And now we're going to test this again. Test execution. So then we can see our response here, 200, virusexample1.com, perfect. So now we've set up our VirusTotal apps, so we're just going to delete this branch again. So currently we have the sender IP, sender domain, and body domain set up using VirusTotal to scan for this phishing email. And now next we're going to add the Yara attachment scanner. So we're going to go to the search bar for the active apps and search up Yara. If this doesn't exist here, you're just going to have to navigate to apps and you should be able to search up Yara there and add it to your list of activated apps. So we're just going to drag it out here, and then we're going to do attachment and this, and we're going to do analyze file action, which is the default one, so that's all good. And then file ID here, we're going to use the autocomplete, which then we add the branch again to get the autocomplete. And we're going to click autocomplete here, Outlook, we're going to go body, and then we'll do attachments in this list here. And there we go. And then now I'm going to test execution. In our version, we're using attachment that's already been uploaded to Shuffler as it would in a real use case. In your example, you might not have any files added, but to do this, I'll show you how. This is just our example response. So if you do want to add a file, basically what you're going to do is you just have to go to the top right here and go to Organization and Files, and then you can click Upload File and upload whatever file you want, and then you can just click here for wherever your file is created, click the Copy File ID, and then you just need to navigate back to the workflow, and then you could just go to your Outlook response and just paste in your file ID and attachments down here, and you can add as many as you want. So now that the attachment analysis is set up, it's our last step for phishing detection, is we're going to set up our Gemini app. So we're going to go to the search bar here and search up Gemini. Get our Gemini app right here. I have a few, but don't worry, just grab the one we already made in the previous tutorial. And you're just going to click on it. Content. And then we're going to keep generate content action. And then for the body, we're just going to click hide body here, just so we have the one prompt field that we can fill in. And we're going to drag this here, just so we can get the auto completion. And this will be available in the document. I'm just going to paste in our prompt. So there we go. So the prompt's just saying, so it's analyze the following email text for phishing indicators. So we're going to have to fill in our autocomplete fields here, and then analyze the provided email text for phishing indicators, identify the potential red flags such as urgent calls to action, generate greetings, requests for personal information, and we're going to ask for a response as enum of one of the three: safe, suspicious, or malicious. Yeah, so we'll need to get our actual auto completions here. So first we're going to need to use the body content, and then next we will use the header subject. Then you just scroll down to the bottom here and we have them both. We're just going to copy these from here and then go and where we have our body field and header field values, we're just going to paste over them. Okay, perfect. And now we're going to try testing the execution and just verify that it works. response, 200 good, candidates, content, parts, suspicious. So as you can see here, we have this extra space, the end of our suspicious, which we don't want that in our response. We're just going to use the actual value here. So we're going to add a note after this, just so we can make sure that we're stripping out any additional spacing or formatting that Gemini adds in its response. Although in the prompt we do say to remove all formatting, it does sometimes add spaces around the word, which that can mess up our workflow in the future. So we're just going to add this. So we're going to add the shuffle tools here right after content analysis, and then we're just going to drag this to connect it to the Gemini app. Then here we're just going to use the liquid formatting to strip any white spaces from the variable. So I'm just going to paste this in here, or actually no. So I'm going to click autocomplete, or click expand window, and then we're going to use the autocomplete, and then content analysis, and then we want the text. And then we know with Gemini we always just want the first indexes for both candidates and parts. So this is going to get suspicious, and then our white space formatting at the end. So then to remove that, we can use liquid, which basically you can just click up in the top left here, and then we're going to just you can choose any of them because we're going to change it, but we can add split. So basically we're just using that so it adds the formatting for us, and then we just replace the split and then the comma with strip, and then we're just going to have to add the extra brackets at the end, and then just do just because liquid's not going to see this as a string, we're just going to have to add quotes around this in our text object. And then there we go, and then we can just try it here. So now it's going to try it with the value we had on our last execution, and then as you can see we get suspicious. So we're going to submit this, and then perfect, and then we're just going to run a test execution to verify this is all working. So our mock response, we get our Gemini response, and then we get our strips Gemini response of the enum. So we get suspicious back. So perfect. So now we've set up all the apps to analyze the email. So next we're going to work with merging all the data back together and just using the specific fields that we've already decided are the most important to actually decide whether we think this is a phishing email or not, and if we should delete this from the user's inbox. So now we're just going to connect all these apps with the starting node. As we've all tested all of them, they're all working. So now we're going to need them to all converge onto the one Shuffle Tools app here, as we're going to use a repeat back to me. Just to make sure that we're getting all the fields back, and we can actually build a JSON object with only the fields we're going to use for our phishing check. So I'm just going to connect all these fields now to the Shuffle node, or Shuffle Tools node. Connecting all of them gives this Shuffle Tools app access to all the information we're getting from all the responses from the 5 apps we're using to check for phishing. And then we're just going to name this too, to build response. And yep. First, we're just going to rename this Shuffle Tools app to Get Body Rating, since we're just pulling out the body rating from Gemini. And then after that, we're going to go to Build Response, and you can find this this whole text body in the document. But here it is too. So we just found the fields that would be needed to analyze and check whether the email is a phishing attack or not. And as you can see here, we just created, it was pretty similar to like the JSON responses we were getting back, and we just using Shuffler's autocomplete. It was fairly easy to add our fields. If you copied all the app names so far directly, you should be able to copy this body completely. But if you didn't, then you'll just have to make minor tweaks to the names. And then also, as you can see too, there's all the fields highlighted in green. So basically this is telling you that it's a proper path. Let's say we add a 1 here and make an invalid path, it goes red. So you can paste this into your workflow, and if it's all green, you're good to go. And you can even click try it here just to make sure that when the app runs, we're getting the correct response we want, which is a JSON object. And then we're going to click Run here to test execution and make sure that everything's working well together and we're getting our proper response back. So as you can see down here, we're getting our response back, but it's an array, which we can work with an array, but it's just nicer to remove from here. So we're just going to call the 0 index. So we're going to add another Shuffle Tools app and drag it right in front of here and connect these. And then basically here, we're just going to remove this. And we're just going to use the shuffler autocomplete to go. We want the build response, and we're just going to use the very first node. So we're just going to do 0 here. And then as you can see, we can click try it. And yeah, right now we're getting our JSON object. So now we're just going to rename this Shuffle Tools app to result. And then we're going to drag in our final Shuffle Tools app. We're going to connect the result one to it. We're going to name this one is Phishing. So this one we're going to use repeat back to me, but we're going to use it a different way than we have so far. So we're going to click Expand Window, and we're going to click Python and Handle JSON. So now basically what's going on is these two Python tags are telling us that inside here we're going to be using Python, and anything we print from inside of here is going to be the result of the app. So say we do print hello, then basically when we run our application, you can try it out here and you'll see in the test output here, we're just going to see hello. Yeah, so now here I'm going to remove this because I already created the body, and you can copy this body from the document. To explain it though, I basically just looked through the important fields that we stored in our one object, and I just found which fields we should be checking and also what values we should be comparing them with. Like if we're looking at the total votes for an IP address, like how many malicious votes should we allow before we consider it to be a phishing email. So I'm just going to paste all this in here. And as you can see, so we're using the result apps response, and we're loading that JSON into the data variable. And then down here, we're just going through the checks. We're checking the body contents, we're checking the attachments, we're checking the domains, and then we're checking the sender IP. And then we're just printing is phishing mail at the end, which you'll see we can try the app here. And then we're getting true. So this is a phishing email. So we're going to click submit. And then finally, we don't really have to test that because we tested it inside the expanded window. So finally, we're just going to get another testing app. In a real use case, you could use your Outlook application or whatever other email provider you're using. But for our use case, we're just using the testing app because once again, we haven't set up all the credentials. So we're just going to drag this here. We're just going to name it delete email. So for our example, we're just going to say if we do find a phishing email, all we're going to do is delete it. So we're going to do delete email, and then we'll say what the email ID was. So we're going to go back to Outlook, and you just got to scroll up a bit and get the autocomplete for Outlook. And then we're just going to ID here. So in a real use case, you could have actually deleting the email, you might be notifying someone, you might have different steps or multiple other steps you want to do after. But for our use case, we're just going to be deleting or printing delete email in the email ID. So right now it's going to execute through, and then every time delete email is going to be called. But we only want this to be called if the result of is phishing was true. So we're just going to click on this branch here, and then we can add a condition to the branch, which is like a if statement in any programming language. So we're going to do new condition, and then we can go autocomplete here and we can go is phishing. So now we're just seeing is the is phishing value equals, and then we're just going to type in our value here, which was true. And then as you can see, is as we tested before, the value should be true from this email that we're giving. So click test execution and make sure. And there we go. We got a response. So in this case, we're just printing delete email, and this is the file ID, is the email ID. But in your case, you can set it up to actually delete an email or create a ticket, or however you like to go about doing things. And that's everything for the phishing demo workflow.